You gave economists a D minus. I'm not even going to ask you what you give to governments. Do you think their failure, economists and government failure, is malevolence or incompetence?
I think policymakers are well intentioned, but generally all government policy is inflationary, and it's inflammatory and inflationary. So what I mean by that is, when you have a policy pursuing supply chain independence, if you have an energy policy, if you have a labor policy, if you have a trade policy, if you have any kind of foreign policy, a domestic policy, a manufacturing policy, every one of these a medical policy, every one of these policies interferes with the free market and generally prevents some rational actor from doing it in a cheaper, more efficient way. So when you layer them on top of each other, they all have to be paid for. If you want to shut down the entire economy for a year, you have to pay for it, right? If you want to fight a war, you have to pay for it, right? If you don't want to use oil or natural gas, you have to pay for it. If you don't want to manufacture semiconductors in China and you want to manufacture them in the US, you got to pay for it. If I rebuild the entire supply chain in Pennsylvania and I hire a bunch of employees and then I unionize the employees, then not only am I idle the factory in the Far East, it goes to 50% capacity. So whatever it sells, it has to raise the price on. And then I drive up the cost of labor for every other manufacturer in the US because I'm competing against them, right? I'm changing the conditions. So everything gets less efficient, everything gets more expensive. And of course, the government couldn't really pay for its policies and its wars with taxes. We didn't pay for World War I with tax. We didn't pay for World War II with tax. We didn't pay for Vietnam with tax. In fact, when you trace this, what you realize is the government never pays for all of its policies with tax.
Because it's too painful to ask to raise the taxes to truly, transparently pay for the things you're doing with taxes, with taxpayer money, because they feel the pain.
That's one interpretation, or it's just too transparent. If people understood the true cost
of war, they wouldn't want to go to war.
If you were told that you would lose 95% of your assets, and 90% of everything you will be taken from you, you might reprioritize your thought about a given policy and you might not vote for that politician.
But you're still saying incompetence, not malevolence. So fundamentally, government creates a bureaucracy of incompetence, is kind of how you look at it.
I think a lack of humility, right? Like if people had more humility, then they would realize
humility about how little they know, how little they understand about the function of complex systems.
There's a phrase from Clint Eastwood's movie Unforgiven where he says a man's got to know his limitations. I think that a lot of people overestimate what they can accomplish, and experience in life causes you to reevaluate that. So I've done a lot of things in my life, and generally my mistakes were always my good ideas that I enthusiastically pursued, to the detriment of my great ideas that required 150% of my attention to prosper. So I think people pursue too many good ideas. They all sound good, but there's just a limit to what you can accomplish. And everybody underestimates the challenges of implementing an idea, right? And they always overestimate the benefits of the pursuit of that. And so I think it's an overconfidence that causes an overexuberance in pursuit of policies. And as the ambition of the government expands, so must the currency supply. Well, I could say the money supply, but let's say the currency supply. You can triple the number of pesos in the economy, but it doesn't triple the amount of manufacturing capacity in the said economy. And it doesn't triple the amount of assets in the economy. It just triples the pesos. So as you increase the currency supply, then the price of all those scarce, desirable things will tend to go up rapidly. And the confidence of all of the institutions, the corporations, and the individual actors and trading partners will collapse.